Welcome back to the Fairy Garden Discoveries. When we push or pull, we're using force. Sometimes using more force isn't the answer. Sometimes we need a new way to think. Rocks, ramps, balance, and direction all matter when something won't move. Christella loved color. She loved how pink petals softened sharp edges, how blue made worries feel quieter, and how gold paint could turn something ordinary into something worth stopping for. She believed colors held feelings inside them, hope in yellow, calm in green, bravery in red, and that when you placed them just right, the world listened. So when she found the rock blocking the garden path, wide and heavy and settled stubbornly between the flowers, she didn't groan or complain. She hovered closer, studying it carefully. "It doesn't need moving," she said thoughtfully. "It needs understanding." And to Christella, understanding always began with beauty. She gathered her paints and petals, moving with familiar joy. She brushed long rainbows along the rock's sides, layering colors until they shimmered in the light. She dotted the surface with soft sparks of gold and traced curling vines that wrapped lovingly around its shape. Flowers were tucked into cracks, petals scattered like confetti at its base. Christella stepped back, wings fluttering. "There," she said proudly, as if the rock itself might feel happier now. Much better. The rock glowed. It sparkled. It was undeniably beautiful. It did not move. Christella blinked. Then she placed her hands against the rock. She leaned forward and pushed, carefully at first, testing the weight. Nothing. She tried again, harder this time. Her wings buzzed faster. Her feet slid slightly in the dust. She adjusted her stance and pushed once more, face warm with effort. Still nothing. The rock stayed exactly where it was, as calm and unmoved as if it hadn't noticed her at all. Other fairies drifted closer, drawn by the colors and the quiet tension. "It's stunning," one said, eyes wide. "Truly stunning." Another nodded. "I've never seen a rock look so joyful." "But," she added gently, "it's still very much blocking the path." Christella lowered her hands. "I don't understand," she said softly. "I gave it beauty. I gave it care. I gave it everything I know how to give." She looked at the rock again, still bright, still unmoved. "Why isn't it enough?" A very small voice cleared its throat. "Ahem." Christella paused and looked down. At her feet stood a neat little line of ants, tiny, focused, and wearing very tiny construction hats that shone softly in the light. One ant adjusted his helmet. Another held a clipboard almost as large as his body. A third tapped a pencil against it with quiet importance. They stared up at the rock, then at Christella, then back at the rock again. "Well," said the ant with the clipboard, "that's certainly a situation." "That," said the ant foreman, pointing with his pencil, "is what we'd call a heavy problem. And pushing it," added another ant, "is understandable, but not efficient." Christella knelt so she could see them better. "What would you do?" she asked kindly. Without answering, the ants got to work. They dragged over a long, straight twig, testing its stiffness as they went. Then they rolled a smooth pebble into place beneath it, wedging it just right. The fairies leaned closer, curiosity replacing frustration. The ant foreman climbed onto one end of the twig and pressed down with his full weight. Slowly, almost politely, the other end lifted. The rock rose just a little, but enough to send a ripple of gasps through the fairies. "That," said the ant, chest puffed proudly, "is a lever." Christella's eyes widened as she watched the balance shift. "So the strength didn't change," she said thoughtfully. "The placement did." The ant nodded. "Exactly. Same force. Smarter use." Nearby, another group of ants bustled into view. They looped a sturdy vine over a low branch, secured one end to a basket of stones, and pulled gently on the other. The basket lifted smoothly into the air, without strain, without slipping. "Pulley!" One ant cheered, pumping his tiny fist. Christella followed the motion carefully, eyes tracing the path of the vine. "So the work is shared?" she murmured. "It doesn't all happen in one place?" The ants grinned. A third ant waved them over. He stood beside a long leaf laid at a gentle angle, its tip resting against a low stone. Carefully, he placed a berry at the bottom and gave it a nudge. Instead of lifting, the berry rolled. Slowly, steadily, all the way to the top. "No lifting at all," the ant said cheerfully. "Just a ramp." Christella leaned closer, watching the smooth path. "So instead of fighting the weight," she said slowly, "you give it a way to go." She followed the slope with her eyes. "The distance is longer, but the effort is less." The ant nodded. "Sometimes the longer way is the easier way." Christella smiled, the idea settling in. The fairies gathered, buzzing with excitement now. They didn't rush. They studied the space, measured with their eyes, talked quietly together. Levers were placed carefully, their ends anchored so they wouldn't slip. A ramp was added to guide the rock's movement, giving it a smooth, gentle path. A pulley steadied the pull, sharing the work instead of forcing it. Christella held her breath. This time, the rock shifted. Not suddenly, not stubbornly. It moved smoothly, quietly, as if it had finally been shown how to go. Christella knelt beside the structure. For once, she didn't reach for paint first. She pressed gently on the supports, feeling how the weight traveled instead of sinking in one place. She tapped the twigs, listening, watched how the rock rested calmly now, balanced instead of tense. "This is the part I was missing," she whispered. The fairies waited. Only when she was sure, only when the structure felt right, did Christella reach for color. Petals slipped neatly between the twigs, softening the surface without weakening it. Paint traced the lines of the structure, highlighting what already worked instead of hiding it. Color didn't cover the solution, it celebrated it. One fairy stepped carefully onto the rock's new place. It didn't wobble. "This feels different," she said, surprised. Christella smiled, warmth spreading through her wings. "Now the beauty can last," she said, "because it has something strong to stand on." The ants gathered their tools with quiet satisfaction. Tiny hammers were tucked away, twine was coiled neatly, clipboards were checked one last time. "Work smarter," said the foreman, adjusting his helmet. "And pay attention," added another ant. "Even the smallest ideas can hold very big things." Christella bowed low, wings dipping with respect. "Thank you," she said warmly. "I thought I was losing my art today." The ants chuckled. "You didn't lose it," the foreman said. "You gave it a backbone." Christella smiled, understanding blooming brighter than any color. As the sun dipped low, the garden glowed softly. The path lay clear at last, The rock settled peacefully in its new place, no longer in the way, but no longer ignored either. Christella hovered above it all, watching fairies pass easily along the path, their laughter light, their steps confident. Creativity needs curiosity, she said thoughtfully, and structure to carry it. She glanced down at the levers, the ramp, the pulley, then back at the colors resting gently upon them. And collaboration, she added with a grin, especially with friends who see the world differently. Some lessons make things beautiful, some make them strong. The best ones do both. Remember, big problems don't always need big effort, just better ideas, shared wisely.